I think the oh,
Scared the
freaks me out,
shit out of
honestly.
me.
That actually gave me goosebumps.
Ah,
I think they need a better voice.
I agree. Oh, hang on.
It
Let me
sounds a
put her
little bit
down.
too much like there's someone there, especially with these headphones on. The Scarlet Alliance
Yes.
had a pretty good summary of
Oh, awesome.
or was it Scarlet Alliance?
So I think we'll just
International
put this
Horse
whole vid up if you're happy with that from
Yeah.
when we started recording for our Patreon peeps. Hello, Patreon people.
Hello.
Thank you for supporting us. Cheers.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
We're slowly building. It's nice.
I know.
Yeah. And we've got some
Exactly
lovely supportive messages too, which is
We
so
do.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a. I think after we got two people?
Yeah.
I sent a message to Jen saying, "We have an income. Amazing. $10 down."
Hey, that's pretty cool. It's nice that people. Sorry, I'm just checking where the pup is.
Can't believe that people would want to listen to more of us, to be honest. Sometimes I'm just like, wow, that's amazing.
God, there you go. God bless you. Well, we thought we would put together just record ourselves chatting a bit about, and it's a week late, but that's because life happens. But on the 2nd of June, it was International Horse Day or International Sex Workers Day. And we celebrated a bit on the day, posted a bunch of events that were happening around the place. But we thought we would talk a little bit further about it in a Patreon post, basically. Because it's quite a special day with an interesting history.
It wasn't really something I had looked into until this year. I think that it's there's more to it than I understand yet. But and from what I've been reading, there's a bit of disagreement around whether civvies should call it International Horse Day or whether they should call it International Sex Workers Day. I think the challenge there is that because whore has been used so often as a slur and insult.
Absolutely.
It's sort of okay, like among sex workers, you know, it's we can use it and it doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything to each other, but we're not sure when it comes to civvies, but it's sort of like at the same time it's the day that sex workers came up with and called it this, so it's that's
a tricky thing.
Yeah.
So I guess if in doubt, civvies, let's go with International Sex Workers Day, and then sex workers can use whatever term they feel good about using.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah. Yes. Well, in the lead up to it, I was having to think about, okay, from a civvy perspective, or do we want to start with the history of the day?
Can do. Do you want me to just read out what it says on the Scarlet Alliance? So I'm just on scarletalliance.org.
Awesome.
We can link it. And it says background to International Horse Day. The 2nd of June has been chosen as International Horse Day in commemoration of the storming and takeover of a church in Lyon in June 1975 by sex workers and their supporters. The action was in protest against the increasing number of arrests of street sex workers, police harassment of them, and the lack of interest shown by police in solving murders and other crimes committed against them. The sex workers and supporters challenged the police to come and arrest anybody who they could identify as a sex worker, making the point that most sex workers are ordinary women doing a job and cannot be told apart from other women. That's an interesting
idea.
Just an interesting. It's an interesting goal to. I don't know. To me, it's sort of like the whole. If you're a good, we're good sex workers kind of thing. But anyway, which is just a political
Loaded.
struggle. But yeah, it can help to maintain that image. Cannot be told apart from other women. Inspired by this action, sex workers all over the world started organising, giving rise to the modern day sex workers' rights movement. Yeah, that's sort of the basics.
Yeah.
Of it. There was some positive outcomes. I think there was a few women who had been charged were released as a
right.
those charges were dropped or something as a result. There's sort of some talk of that on some platforms, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of a day, that in different contexts, different people view it as like a day of celebration or like of owning or an identity as sex workers and being really celebratory about that. It's also considered by, I guess, a lot of people as a day of protest, a day of protest and advocacy and continuing to demand rights and demand fair treatment. And as like Tess sort of mentioned on the start of our episode that we dropped, we happened to be dropping an episode on that day. So she mentioned at the start that a lot of these issues that at the original protest were raised as concern, in terms of police treatment and the ability for workers to negotiate legally, appropriate working conditions and things like that, that they still remain over a lot of the world today, those issues.
It's interesting to even just sort of go through the details of what exactly was the problem in the 70s in France, and sort of go, that's exactly what we're trying to do now. So it's sort of the issue of these laws that supposedly exist in the interest of public safety actually doing harm. So and not to sex workers and to public health, because sex workers will inevitably be discriminated by using certain resources. And therefore it sort of affects their clients then, or and all of this stuff. And the overarching having to jump through hoops in order to work legally, often meaning undermines then the individual's ability to discuss with a client their boundaries and have them reinforced by police. And also it enables police to take advantage of sex workers. So it gets just, a bit ridiculous. So sort of it seems to be quite a theme. Like I think that we've talked about a little bit how decriminalizing sex work is the preferred model among sex workers of what we'd like to work towards, and has been shown to have the best results as far as health and safety of everyone. But it's there's a list here, I think, of why. So on the same page, which we'll link, of exactly why it's what the results of the laws have done, and what the results of and how decrim would essentially resolve that. And also cover some of the common concerns around what about, would that mean that underage people become targets of abuse or something? But it covers that, and it covers covers a lot of different reasons why decrim is still the best model, and what other laws are already in place, and to protect other people if needed.
Yeah.
Or could be worked towards to do that more effectively, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it says here, like, I mean, this probably isn't Australia, but like the results of like it is, yeah, okay, in Australia. Interestingly, the partners and children of sex workers risk being charged with living off the earnings of prostitution provisions, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if you're a sex worker, because the laws stop you from providing money to others in order to, which really actually only affects sex workers and limits what they can do with their money.
Yeah.
That it's meant to stop pimps and and upliners and stuff like that. It doesn't do that. That still happens.
That still happens
like, all
everywhere.
the fucking time.
Yeah.
But if you use that money to feed your kids,
yeah.
you could get in trouble. So, well, they could get in trouble.
Yeah, I think the whole legal area of this is fucked. I know I was talking to someone just the other day about, because someone had asked me, oh, could you start an ethical brothel in say in the region that I live in or whatever. And I'd sort of explain like the laws in SA would mean that actually makes sex workers less legally safe. So while working on a premises that actually was run by sex workers for sex workers in as ethical way as possible that a management situation could be, the laws in SA say that basically, unless you're working completely on your own and doing out calls, basically, you are breaking the law. And so it's then that sacrifice of, say, physical safety and even a sense of community that working with even one other worker in an apartment or something would be. At least in SA, that you are legally at risk and often targeted through advertising of brothels or parlours or whatever, and then prosecuted. So it's such a... And that person was going, that's fucked. I'm like, yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, SA is in a particularly fucked state as far as sex work laws at the moment. So
yeah.
And I think they tried for like the 16th.
Yeah, just really recent.
And didn't pass it. And since then, policing of sex workers like increased. So this is why sex workers are screening all their clients so heavily. So if you're a client in South Australia and you're suddenly getting asked for a photo of your ID or to give your ID to someone at the start of the booking or whatever, and then have it back or whatever it is, there's a few points on that. So it's, yes, look, some people do set up accounts to take advantage of this system so that they can get deposits and not, so there's a lot of people, but that's actually taking advantage of sex workers too, because usually they're using our photos.
Yes.
But and also it undermines the system. But for a lot of sex workers at the moment, it's kind of tricky in South Australia because even if you're working legally, frequently police are making bookings in order to try and trap you, to arrest you. So and there's flow-on effects. So I'm just reading this point here, this is an issue in South Australia and Queensland, the use of safe sex tools and resources so this is like condoms, carrying condoms, can be used as supporting evidence to gain sex work related convictions against sex workers. So this affects everybody. If you can't carry condoms, then no one's safe.
Exactly.
If you're going to be I know this was a problem overseas, I think, where people stopped carrying condoms because I'm worried about being accused of doing sex work.
I mean, it's just
it's
how can you then argue that that's for public safety then? This is my thing.
It's not protecting anybody.
It's not keeping anyone safe.
Least of all,
sex workers and their clients. But
But yes, back to screening and stuff. Like these
Mm.
kinds of things. Because so there's all this pushback of like decrim didn't get passed.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of details around the like processes that have, I mean, processes. I'm in Darwin at the moment, like processes in Darwin and stuff like that. It all sort of went through without like much public. There was a lot of legal. Well, there's a whole legal fight, but less of the public involved, which actually means that there's not so much of the. It depends on the political system and who's siding with who. So it's like if it's a voting situation and it's a conservative place with conservative voters or traditional voters, then it can kind of all fly under the radar.
Yeah.
Whereas in South Australia, it's all a bit fucked, and that means that then police and police as individuals, I don't know, but like there's an incentive then to make arrests and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's hugely challenging. And I think that's where organizations like I jotted down a list this morning of just ones that I happen to be following. And I would recommend, certainly, especially if you're a civvy, get educated about this stuff. The resources and the information around this stuff is plenty online, whether you're following accounts on social media or their websites. Like there's lots of places you can go to get educated on this stuff if you're wanting to be informed and you're wanting to support sex workers that you love. Like it's not hard to get informed.
That's it. And rather than sort of jumping to conclusions, like say you weren't getting screened last week and now you are, things like that. So you probably don't have to dig too far if you use platforms Jen's about to point out.
Exactly. You will see
out exactly what's going on and exactly why. So it might just give some validity to the person you're talking to. It's not just them saying this,
Yes. Yeah. And these platforms and then individual workers and organisers in each state and territory, and I'm sure it's the same in other countries as well, share amongst themselves like, oh, heads up, we're just getting these kinds of inquiries. We think that's a really essential service that workers are doing amongst themselves and for each other in order to promote safety and to navigate these murky waters. But I think certainly if you're a client or just a civvy and don't know anything about this space, there's ways to get educated and then defer to your local / loved sex workers. They will have the local knowledge about what is going on the ground, and don't be a dick if they're going, I've had to change my screening process. Like there's a reason for that. That's not fun.
Essentially
for fun.
I mean, it sucks because it's like slows down booking. You're going to lose people. You're going to lose bookings, and then you're more reliant on your regulars and stuff. It's weird. Like no one wants to do that. But also consider the fact that like every time you walk into a club, you give a stranger ID. Like stuff, and they scan. Like I had my ID scanned last night because I was buying beers.
All right.
It's just like it's just interesting systems, like and I don't think twice about that. So maybe consider.
And we use
that a little bit.
We use apps and all kinds of services where we give away our identification constantly.
Yeah.
So I think don't be a dick if that's required, or then accept that you that the service you're wanting doesn't exist right now because police or for whatever reason at a local level
because
it's
police,
not possible.
Not of us.
Not because of workers aren't like how can we make our jobs more difficult and complex, like but some fantastic places to follow I would recommend, and I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands of more. These are just a few that I have found really useful as a civvy trying to learn and not put that burden on sex workers that you may know and love. Like get yourself educated by organisations like these who are set up to pull together these resources and information in order to support sex workers, but also to advocate for legislative change. And that involves civvies being allies and getting on board and arguing for legislative change. So if you're in SA, it's worth checking out SIN, so the Sex Industry Network. They have like Insta and Twitter, and they also have a website themselves. And also in SA, there's SIDAC, which is the Sex Industry the Sex Industry Decriminalisation Action Committee. So they're also on all the socials, and they have their website. So they are working actively on that change of legislation, and they would have the most up-to-date kind of information around how that whole process has been happening. Obviously, Scarlet Alliance, which you've already referenced, they're a fantastic resource. So they're a national organisation that are all about peer support and access to resources and information for sex workers. But I think if you're wanting to learn about this space, they're a great place to start as well, because they just have loads of information, historical information, legislative information, resources, etc. And with any of these, some of these organisations have places as well where you can donate, or they will put up information if there are relief funds and things like that with COVID going on, where you might be able to donate.
Which is more relevant now in Melbourne. Yes. So Melbourne organisations will usually have a relief fund, and that's generally because everyone's gone into lockdown, and some people are like essentially like struggling to cover basic expenses and stuff like that. So if you want to help out there,
please
do. Who can't access government support.
Absolutely. I know that just recently Scarlet Alliance had reopened their emergency fund for Victorian sex workers because of the lockdown. So if you want to look at how you can contribute to things like that, that'd be worth checking out their website. There's also decrim QLD, so that's the Queensland body. They're on social media with all of their information, and I would also really recommend checking out on Instagram and Twitter, Decolonise Sex Work Australia. So they're a fantastic group that are working specifically on a decolonisation model of looking at sex work, recognising that so often Indigenous and Black sex workers are not featured or a part of a lot of these conversations, and that those workers face their own unique challenges in the industry. So they're really worth following. They have fantastic resources from an education standpoint, but they also regularly put out calls for mutual aid. So there might be a sex worker who is being kicked out of their apartment and they need a bond for an apartment. So there's places that you can contribute there. And they really operate off that mutual aid way of working, which basically means directly person to person. So it's not going through kind of a charity or anything like that. It's directly connecting, transferring from you to decolonise sex work, and they are getting it straight to the individual worker, which is really valuable. So that's just a few. And then there are other, I guess, social media presences who do a lot of kind of radical education. So there's like the intro room we follow, who often do events and fantastic things, really featuring the voices of sex workers and lived experience. And then Class Warfare on Insta in particular. They are the Radical Sex Workers Collective, and they are really active in this space of advocacy and, I guess, pushing the agenda further. So there's that's just a few. There's stacks and stacks. So there's certainly no excuse for civvies to just say, I don't know anything about that. There's stacks of information. But in engaging with these services, I think then look at how you can compensate them for the time and energy that they've put into pulling together these resources and information for you. So if there is a place that you can donate, or a way that you can contribute, or even share with others to start them on their journey, that's really important, because this is a lot of mental and emotional labor to pull resources and information together. So if you are a civvy looking to get educated, please do, but do so with humility and gratitude, and look for ways that you can then compensate and contribute. That's what I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I just like a practical thing that I'm curious in is where are there any good platforms where clients write genuine reviews?
Ooh,
I've never come across.
Good question.
Well, I have and I haven't. So usually I've found the forums to be negative, like negative reviews, which is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's problematic sometimes, but it's in general that's has a place.
Oh,
but
sure.
I'm just wondering, like, I'm thinking more around like when policing steps up, where like reviews become more important because if we're asking for more details from people, then it helps if there's a platform where someone says like, Tess exists.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
she's respectful. She won't share your shit.
The money is a deposit. It will come off your booking when you see her. Like all of that, whatever it is. Like she's not going to steal your ID and use it. And like, do you know what I mean? Like if you have like experiences like that and there's platforms to share it, can you let us know?
Yeah, definitely.
That's becoming more important at the moment in some cases.
Yeah, that's a
and
really
more
good
valuable
point.
And I know that, so the ads, the reviews on the ads, although I love them and I do actually use them when I am working with people, I do just check that there are some reviews. I feel like that's a good sign. The ads don't post negative reviews, and so they're biased, and you can do it anonymously with any email address. So some sex workers post their own reviews. So I know that. However, like I feel like if you can see reviews over time written in different ways, and they've got an online presence elsewhere in technical capacity, or a maintained website or something like that, then you're probably fine.
It's a pretty good sign.
But I'm just wondering whether there's anywhere that's decent, like the ones that I've heard. Like I know there's some that guys use before, because I'm thinking referrals are really great. Like between, I mean, I've really appreciated when a client's like gives my number to his mate or something like that. It kind of means like he's not going to give his number to a cop, my number to a cop. I mean, I think that's like a cool thing. Or like even sharing stuff around, like sometimes, like I'm not very political on my work, on my escorting platforms, strategically,
of course,
because I'm trying to turn you on.
Sorry, does super political messages not get the dick hard? Excuse me?
I don't know. Maybe,
you tell us.
Maybe they do.
Tell us.
So like I appreciate it if you follow these platforms. That benefits me. If you know from elsewhere, so that I can stick to my job. I don't know, or you know from here or whatever it is, like the places there where it's been provided, so that I can continue escorting and like
but know that you have a bit of the context. Of like,
and then if someone's writing reviews for me, then that's helpful, because like, but I'm not going to obviously ask that in a booking and say like, hey, can you write a review, because like I don't want to get booked by police at the moment. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. So, or look, maybe I would.
Maybe it depends on the client a bit.
It depends on the client.
And the vibe of the booking, probably. It's a challenging thing.
So if you can share information, if you can share, like, if you can share like your, in the same way that sometimes like I've found with sex workers, like we can share clients in a way, or be like, hey, I know a guy. And he's pretty good. He likes me. I'm not available. he wants to see someone, like I've just given him your number, FYI,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Like we do that sometimes. Like in the same way, it'd be cool. Like if there's somewhere where you guys have the capacity to have a genuine conversation and say,
Yeah.
she's sincerely working,
Yeah.
and like it's going to be a good experience for you, then, or
Yeah,
I had a
for
good
sure.
experience, like don't worry, then that helps everybody. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
everyone, I know it's a bit of effort, but
Yeah.
like, if you're interested in helping, yeah, and you don't want to donate it, well, you know, like if you're looking for ways, then I'd like to know.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
My Grace has
Your
just dropped me
dog?
off a coffee.
Oh,
Isn't that amazing? You look
oh
gorgeous.
my
I love your
God.
makeup. Stunning. Oh, okay.
Wow.
She's just because she's running.
No,
Dim Dim. You
that's
say love
amazing.
you. Love you. Thanks, Star. Sorry. How good is that? Coffee
That's
delivered to your door. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. I wonder, well, if anyone's listening, you tell us if there already exists this sort of platform, or how you could even go about creating it. Because I think you're right. It's so
Yeah.
valuable. And it makes you think too of, like, you mentioned, I can't even remember. We talk too much. In one of our conversations.
Yeah. Maybe on a record.
Yeah, might have been recorded, might not have. You'd mentioned a client was saying he had found the pod helpful because he had tried to find information for clients about how to contact sex workers, how to behave, all of that stuff. And he had sometimes struggled.
So
Adelaide, yeah.
It's all in Adelaide.
Oh, Adelaide.
All of this shit's in Adelaide.
SA.
So I didn't share my last three tours to Adelaide. I said nothing about working because of the anxiety surrounding it, and it's a real headache. I lost a lot of work, and there were numbers of, like, so there's been numbers shared around on Instagram and on Twitter of like numbers that the cops were using to make bookings with.
So don't trust or don't pick up this number, basically.
Yeah, but then it turned into me in bookings asking for updated numbers, like from clients who were sort of in the know and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also getting referrals and stuff like that. It just gets a bit weird. So it's a bit you feel at the mercy of, like, things get pushed underground. So if you it's nice when to have some help. And so it hadn't. It's just a different thing to be facing at the moment.
Yeah. And this is the thing that sticks out to me. I think this is true of any legislation that criminalizes most things, to be honest. I feel like all that does is push that thing underground and make it less safe for everyone involved. And that is never going to be a good thing.
No, because here's what it means.
Yeah.
I can't say I am in Adelaide on these dates. Here is what I'm offering, and this is the dynamic, and this is where I can be found.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm not even worried about getting murdered by a client.
Right.
I'm worried about, like, being stalked by police.
Yes.
Like, it's whether I'm doing the right thing or not, I really don't want to. Do you know what I mean? Like, what happens in those bookings. Also, it is really hard to work out the laws in Adelaide. So it's very confusing.
Yes.
Relying on out calls, like, meant doing, like, I don't usually do in the middle of the night out calls, but suddenly I'm like, well, I'm doing in the middle of the night out calls. Because, it's not, I don't have as many options.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
This is different. You can say boundaries are harder. This is the issue.
Yeah.
This is the exact issue.
Yeah.
Is that because it's not decriminalized, negotiations with clients directly can't happen. We need all these middlemen stuff around reviews and referrals and shit. And then setting boundaries at the time of meeting, which is way
Yes.
less safe. So even
Yeah.
if they're not a cop.
Yeah. That's it.
So
And I
anyway, food for thought.
yes. Yeah. And I think one of the toughest things as well is with legislation, there's like the letter of the law and then how the law is actually enacted.
Yeah.
And so the letter of the law might be relatively static. It stays the same until someone changes the law, right? But how it gets enacted changes all the time. And that changes based on the political whims of whoever's in state government. It changes based on an individual cop or a station's approach to it. It changes all the time.
And their situation. Like I think
Yeah.
about, police as a structure. So like, if you've got incentives to charge people,
Yes.
like financial incentives to charge people to protect your job, then you're
revenue
going to
raising.
need to do that. And then there's also for political support or whatever it is. It's sort of so it's not like all cops are just looking for us or whatever. I know it's not like that, but it's a bit scary. Like when you think you could be talking to anybody. It's just a terrible feeling.
So I think
and also it's interesting as well the way that, so apparently from what I heard, that and this might be useful for sex workers as well, is that the cops were mostly looking at ads on escorts and babes.
Oh, okay. Right.
Which the baseline rate for using escorts and babes, it does get expensive if you use extras and like boosts, and there's a lot of different options around the ads, which might be an episode. But
totally.
Like it's baseline rate. Like you can put up an ad for $10. So then it's like automatically, in a way, I felt a certain sense of security, because I was like, I'm probably not the kind of person they're going to target.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be like it. To be honest, the thing that really bothers me about all of this isn't even the like risk of getting charged with something.
Right.
That doesn't bother me. Weirdly, I mean, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to avoid that, but it's also and I try and work in ways that are, quote unquote, above board and whatever. But it's like it's more that my personal boundaries is that I will pretty much let anyone put their dick inside me for a certain rate.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, and if they're not a friend, then I don't want them messaging me about sexual matters.
Yeah.
That's explicit, and asking for sexual details and asking for my time.
Yeah.
And energy and work and me to come somewhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So the idea of doing all of that for to get screened by some cop, like as a screening process by some cop, to me is violating. Like that's a terrible. I'm uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like false pretenses.
Yeah.
And sexual and like coercive sexual false pretenses.
Yeah. Which is actually
terrible,
illegal
really.
in other contexts. So why is it legal here?
Yeah. And like my boundaries around things are quite like clear. So like there's certain things that I do like I am very clear on what I will do in different scenarios. So like just to give an example, and this is fresh on my mind and I'm a bit angry, so I
please
we'll have to, I'm not going to go into this, but like I was groped the other day on the plane and it was a terrible, like to me that's still something I'm moving through. 2 days later.
Yeah, it's a horrific experience.
It's a terrific experience.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to have sex, take my clothes off, like for someone within an hour that they've booked and paid a deposit and then paid, and all of these things, because like it's about we have control.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. And we've agreed to, it's consensual. We've agreed to it.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, hey, might be all right, like with a loud noise at a concert, but you're not okay with someone coming up behind you and screaming. Like, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
So it's just the context matters.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
this is just another way that another level. So around looking after sex workers, sort of emotional mental well-being.
Yeah.
It's just another level of it. So it's sure, there's issues around the way these laws are being used, but also it's going to affect us in so many different ways.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And these are issues all over the world. All of these
Yes.
issues, honestly.
Yeah.
We should get some. I will. I keep on saying I'm going to contact Magenta.
Yeah. Yeah. So Magenta. Oh, that was one I left off my list. I can't believe it. Magenta as well, which is WA based peer support service for sex workers. And again, they have heaps of resources and information about the WA context more specifically. And I think that's something that everyone can do, whether you're a client or a civvy. I think read up on what the situation is in your state, at the least. Read up on what the situation is so you have a contextual understanding of what workers in your local area are navigating.
Yeah. And I wouldn't worry so much about laws because a lot of the specific laws, I'd worry more about what's what is being actively enforced, which compromises our how we're being surveilled, surveillance, what safety measures we can take and stuff like that. That kind of information. Really I mean, the laws are relevant for sure. And I think sticking by them gives you a lot of freedom in society. But it's just from a booking perspective, policing is really what's relevant. What's being policed in your area is really key to understanding the booking process.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah. And could clients even express is there any additional measures I need to be aware of at the moment when making a booking? Just even positioning yourself as someone who would actually care to know about those things if they're going on.
Yeah.
I think is a good sign.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally.
To not be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say also we can be more explicit. So I find Twitter a bit more to the point. I think I saw someone the other day say, and they were Australian. I don't think they had on their where they were, or at least on their Twitter at the time. They might have been just moving around, or maybe they took that off. But they were screened by police in Australia in the last couple of days. So it's so Twitter, you often get a lot of that. But on Twitter, I probably wouldn't get that from individuals on Instagram. Just if that's important to you.
Yeah.
Can't say much on Instagram. We got flagged. Hey,
yeah. I have half a feeling we've been shadow banned.
I think so. Yeah.
God, like us on Instagram. Show us some love. Show Instagram the finger. It was on International Sex Workers Day too, and I sent Tess a screenshot and was like, "Happy International Sex Workers Day from Insta." They're being assholes about what was very benign content.
It wasn't. It was not
at all
soliciting, or it was a list of ways to support sex workers.
Yeah.
So there's no images.
No images.
There was the words, but it wasn't it was not it wasn't an advertisement.
No.
It was a here's ways that you would show support to the porn industry at the moment, or this or that, or whatever. It's just very specific practical stuff.
And we had then we had that one, and then a couple of days earlier we got a flag for a screenshot of, it was when we did an episode and I referenced Slut Ever, which is a TV series on Vice. And so I had screenshotted and uploaded a pic of their TV series cover page, and that one got flagged. And I was like, that's not even that's so
interesting. I was with a sex worker that night, and I did have a little bit of a laugh because I was like,
What?
I think because you had said like this just wouldn't be an issue on your
Civvy page.
civvy page, and it was almost like this whole realization of like, yes, there is that distinction, because I think that for me, like I have had civvy content on Instagram, but I never maintained it after. So for the last 2 years, I've only had this with my
Your work one.
yeah, like Give Test Love,
Yeah.
and then So Hard Pod. And I think that, so to me, and then all of this screening came, like all of these issues came up around Instagram being like becoming way more strict.
Yeah.
And then getting flagged very quickly
Very quickly.
and coldly, and like cut off.
Yeah.
Like you don't, hashtags barely work and all of this stuff.
Mm.
All of that sort of happened very quite quickly. And then and also it's weird stuff that gets taken down, like a pole dancing thing in shorts and a tank top got taken down. And
But
stuff
then
like that.
other
like,
things that we post that are more explicit don't.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, how are you? You're like, your computer's broken. Some program needs to do.
Yeah.
Consistency. But like it's just like bizarre. And then it was sort of like this whole like you know, there's this whole like uproar around like sex workers being silenced and not being able to like have as far a reach as everyone else around like just life and
just
stuff like that.
Normal shit.
Yeah. And then sort of like having this actual experience on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like on the podcast one, also like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
like,
I nearly
yes,
posted the same. I was thinking I should post this same post on my civvy one.
Yeah,
and just because I can guarantee it wouldn't have been reported. But then I had half a thought, because I use them in the same app. I was like, oh, are they linked? I just don't want to risk fucking the podcast. So I was like, oh, I won't. But I'm pretty sure like it would not even flag in a civvy one.
No.
I should make up like a third party one as the civvy one and do that. Actually test every time. Oh my God. Every time we get flagged, I'm then going to share that same post on this like third party one.
Yeah.
That I don't open on the app, so it's not linked at all.
Yeah.
That could be a fun experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have, on that note, if you have me on Instagram, please follow my backup account, which is in my bio.
Yes. Yeah.
So I actually like Instagram as an app, like as far as the ease of it. And
yeah.
Like I don't get heaps of my followers are just fake users.
Oh,
but like, and I don't have many, but it's like, it's the best place for my regulars to know where I am, what's going on. Because like, I just find stories the most accessible, easy way to like give them updates without messaging people and without getting an influx of weird.
Yes.
Or I don't know, like there's just less weird replies.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really valuable.
Yeah.
So it's nice when people do go. So I've got like Give Tess Love, which is my main account, and then I've got Tame Tess Louise, which is like the backup account on my bio. And it's annoying to have to, because I've got all these accounts.
Yeah.
But it's, it's sort of, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think all of this comes, I mean, it's sort of in talking about the same stuff, isn't it? Whether you talk about
labor,
well, because and part of the reason that Instagram has gone so hardline is because of a change of legislation in the US. So the Foster-Sester laws that were passed under Trump, which actually one of the core components of that legislation, which was meant to be about anti-trafficking, but actually, as has been proven, doesn't work, and makes same principle, makes sex workers less safe there. But it's
bizarre to me that the two are even aligned, correlated. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a whole other conversation. But part of that, a huge component of Foster-Sester was that it would make internet carriage services and companies like Facebook or Instagram or Backpage, which was one of the main websites that kind of got legislators interested in creating Foster-Sester, But Instagram, for example, the foster system makes Instagram explicitly legally liable if any underage person is on their site being trafficked. So what companies have done in response is they've just gone really, really hardline in response to foster sister. So they've gone, okay, if we're legally liable for this happening on our page, we're going to crack down, but we're going to have to program some computer to do that. So of course it's very inaccurate. It's very inconsistent. It targets the wrong people. Even if we're targeting the right people, meaning people who are operating in a dodgy manner, that doesn't do anything to really make a difference to them or to make anyone else safe or well. But that's where we then see, this is why laws do matter, is they then get enacted, don't they? They get enacted by companies, they get enacted by police, they get enacted by landlords, they get enacted, and they get enacted in ways that are really damaging. Which is why decrim really has to be has to be where we start. But
what was the name of that book?
Oh yes, I had that on my list.
really?
It is.
I might order it actually while I'm quiet.
Yeah, we could do a book club.
I wish it was. That's a good idea.
It is called. It's called "Revolting Prostitutes: The Fight for Sex Workers' Rights," and it's by Juno Mack and Molly A. So Smith. And it looks at how the law harms sex workers and what do they want instead.
Okay.
Yeah. Fresh perspective to questions that have long been contentious.
Cool.
And they're both sex workers, which is very important, I feel, to be writing this book. Bring fresh perspective, speaking from a growing global sex worker rights movement and situating their argument firmly within wider questions of migration, work, feminism, and resistance to white supremacy. They make clear that anyone committed to working towards justice and freedom should be in support of the sex workers' rights movement. And so what they do in the book is sort of outline the different legislative approaches that different countries have taken. Including things like the difference between legalization and decriminalization and things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Definitely something I need to learn more about.
I'm hoping there's an audiobook. If there's an audiobook.
I know.
That would be amazing.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, if you let me know, because we could then do like a like a book club, as in have a listen to a chapter and then see if we
cool.
But
anyway, I think that the day in itself is sort of a bittersweet thing, and it's also it's interesting. The community is so resilient, but I find it quite sad myself personally, because it's I feel like that is like the silver lining around a big ass cloud. It's and you just kind of have to look for it, because I think that I just found this example just keeps on coming up, where it's as a community we're so resilient, as a community we're so we look after each other and stuff like that. All of these things that we shouldn't have to be.
Yes.
Resilience, because
bad shit happens.
Bad shit happens, and
we shouldn't be
looking after each other, because bad shit happens. We should just be working.
Yeah. Like anyone else in a job.
Yeah, I don't want to think about this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just that, absolutely. and I don't think anyone else. And I guess I've largely avoided it until recently. Even thinking about, I just sort of find out what I need to know for the exact thing that I want to do.
Sure.
And then carry on. I think that it's good to have a bit more information though, because I don't know, you can plan a bit better, but and also have a bit more context for other people in the industry, but and benefit from that peer support. But I mean, it's I don't know, I even find people sometimes jealous of the community, wanting to identify with it in some way. And I get it, because we're so starved for community in our society, and it's it is amazing. Like the way, I mean, I'm I'm thinking about stripping up here.
Oh yeah.
And I like contacted I knew that from what I could find that strip clubs had closed due to COVID and like properly shut down, like and
Oof.
like that was that.
Whoa.
And so I knew that at least one was open. I found like one with an active Instagram and Facebook page, so I just like sent them a text and a message and just said like, hey, here's my platform, so you know I'm real. And then are you looking for anyone who looks like me or anything?
Yeah.
And like I haven't got experience, so like did that like initial like point of contact, and then they got back to me and said like actually our strip club closed as well. But there's one new one that like has just started up, and here's the number for that, and like helping me out, like so trying to get me a job. It's like it's just quite interesting. This is just the old owner who's not like probably not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like helping me out. Like it's just interesting.
Yeah.
It's nice. It is nice. Like it's nice to have those interactions in your work life.
Yeah.
But also, how did the sad thing is that all these strip clubs went underground. Well, died.
Yeah.
Because of I don't know why. Because maybe girls couldn't tour there or like whatever. There just weren't the feasible options to keep them going, even though it was such a big deal last time I was here 2 years ago. Oh my God. So I was working in a brothel.
Yeah.
And it was dead until the strip clubs closed. So
oh wow.
And some girls would go to the stripper, like work at the strippers and then start their shift to the brothel just to make a fucking killing.
Smart.
Just it was different. Like, and now I'm like, oh my God, there's no strip clubs anyway. It's hard to find the strip club. So it'd be interesting if this one's just started up. I might go there tonight actually.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's just an interesting world.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a whole tangent.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, it's sort of the really beautiful parts of the industry have come because things have happened and there are shit laws in place and shit structures, and so you've had to forge out these peer support networks and mentoring and all of that stuff. And so while you appreciate and enjoy those things, it is bittersweet because it's come to be because of unjust structures. So it shouldn't be needed in the first place.
Frustrating.
Yeah. Tricky.
Well, decrim, and we will.
I know. I feel like we could basically just start and finish every single episode with decrim. Right.
Anything around like policies. Like decrim.
Decrim. There's no point in talking about anything else until we're doing that. And then
I think we should probably read that though. And if we can,
I'm up for it.
Like, because I think that maybe decrim as a concept could be. It's not. I feel like it's a word that might turn people off.
Sure.
It sort of sounds like let's just make anything possible. That's what I hear when I hear decrim. When it's not quite that.
No. No. Well, it's a whole decrim isn't even necessarily just one policy. It's like a whole raft of approaches
and philosophies. So and I don't know how to
describe
I
that.
kind of more know because I just have this real world like I don't really have much of the theory in my own mind often. So
well, we will see if we can find an audiobook and do a way to get reading. But in the meantime, if you're a sex worker, we love and appreciate you, and we shout out and hope you are doing okay in amongst all of this. And if you're a civvy or a client, get Googling, do some learning. Don't ask that of individual sex workers who are just trying to do their job. You just can do that yourself.
Do comments.
It does.
Comments okay. So if you have some extra info on any of this,
resources or
especially clients around discussing with each other where things are at and sharing resources, then please let us know, or or just do that. And then we know what to share
Yeah.
on other platforms. So
Absolutely.
cool.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you all.
Patreon peeps. Yeah. Love you all. All right. I'll stop record.